You believe you're in control of your life. You make your own money. You make your own choices. You walk your own path. But let me ask you a profound question. When someone disrespects you, how quickly does your heart rate spike? When an unexpected crisis hits, how fast does anxiety flood your chest? If a mere sequence of words from another human being can dictate your internal state, you are not free. You are a biological puppet. This is the uncomfortable truth that 99% of men will never accept. We live in an era where emotional reactivity is the default state of existence. But there is a fraction of men, a silent minority of thinkers and strategists, who operate on a completely different psychological plane. They possess one specific habit, a mental architecture that changes their entire reality. It makes them immune to manipulation, highly resistant to stress, and intellectually superior in any room they enter. By the end of this audio experience, you will know exactly what this hidden habit is and how to hardwire it into your own brain. But before we expose this truth, I want you to go to the comments below and tell me, what was the last small thing that made you completely lose your temper? Be honest with yourself, because identifying your specific triggers is the absolute first step to destroying their power over you. To truly understand why this single habit is so incredibly rare, you have to critically analyze the environment you exist in right now. You are completely surrounded by invisible systems designed specifically to make you react. The algorithms on your phone, the dynamics of corporate hierarchies, the modern dating market, the 24-hour news cycle. Every single one of these structures is engineered to harvest your attention by provoking an immediate emotional response. Outrage, fear, lust, and anger are highly profitable commodities. Every time you react impulsively, someone else gains power or profit. The critical problem for the modern man is that his biological hardware is dangerously outdated. Your nervous system evolved to react instantly to physical threats. A predator appears, you feel adrenaline, you fight or you run. Today, there are no predators lurking in the grass. Instead, there is a passive, aggressive message from your business partner. There is an unexpected bill. There is a stranger cutting you off in traffic. Your ancient brain cannot tell the difference. It treats a bruised ego exactly like a physical attack. It floods your body with cortisol. You become reactive, emotional, and erratic. You completely lose your logical edge. And in this modern world, when a man loses his logic, he loses his absolute power. The habit we are about to decode is the ultimate psychological antidote to this modern disease. It is the art of reclaiming your mind from a society that wants you weak, predictable, and constantly on edge. It is the foundation of true emotional stability. Let us begin by deconstructing the anatomy of a reaction. What exactly happens when you are triggered? An event occurs, and within milliseconds, your brain assigns a meaning to it. This happens so incredibly fast that you do not even realize a choice was made. You assume the event itself caused your anger. But this is the fundamental illusion that traps weak men. The event did nothing. Your immediate interpretation of the event did everything. This brings us to the core of the one habit that changes your entire thinking. It is the deliberate creation of a psychological gap, the gap between the stimulus and your response. The vast majority of people operate with zero gap. Event happens, emotion spikes, reaction follows. They are tightly bound in a chain of cause and effect over which they have absolutely no authority. They are passengers in their own minds. The elite man, however, actively engineers a micro-pause. When an insult is thrown at him, he does not immediately absorb it. He halts the process. He observes the insult hanging in the air, completely separate from his identity. This is the habit of objective distance. It is the conscious refusal to let an external event instantly merge with your internal emotional state. Imagine your mind is a fortress. Most men leave the gates wide open. Any passing thought, any rude comment, any piece of bad news can just walk right into the throne room and demand attention. Objective distance is the act of lowering the portcullis. It means standing on the walls of your fortress and inspecting the visitor before deciding whether or not to let them inside. You demand identification from your own reactions. Why is this so difficult? Because your ego is screaming for immediate validation. The ego hates the pause. The ego wants to defend itself, to strike back, to prove that it is right. When someone questions your competence, the ego wants to immediately list your achievements or attack their flaws. The habit of the micro-pause requires you to starve the ego of this instant gratification. Let us apply this to a real scenario. You are in a high-stakes meeting. Someone openly challenges your idea in a disrespectful tone. A reactive man feels the flush of heat in his neck. He raises his voice. He gets defensive. In that exact moment, the rest of the room loses respect for him. He has revealed his absolute lack of self-control. He has shown that his emotional state can be easily hijacked. Now observe the man who has mastered the habit. The same disrespect occurs, but instead of reacting, he pauses. He maintains eye contact. He lets the silence stretch for just 2 or 3 seconds. In those seconds, he is applying objective distance. He is looking at the disrespect as a piece of data, not as an attack on his soul. That silence alone completely disarms the attacker. When he finally speaks, his voice is calm, deep, and measured. Because he did not react, he retains absolute power over the room. He addresses the logical flaw in the challenge, completely ignoring the emotional bait. The contrast is staggering. Everyone in the room subconsciously registers who the true leader is. This is the power of the gap. This is what emotional sovereignty looks like in practice. To build this habit, you must begin to view your own emotions as external weather patterns. You are the sky. Your anger, your anxiety, your frustration, these are just storms passing through. The sky is never damaged by the storm. The sky simply contains it. When you feel anger rising, your internal dialogue must shift from I am angry to I am observing the sensation of anger. This subtle shift in language is a game changer. When you say I am angry, you identify completely with the emotion. You become it. But when you say I am experiencing the feeling of anger, you create a separation. You step out of the storm and become the observer. An observer cannot be controlled by what he is watching. He is logically detached from the chaotic elements. Consider the profound difference this makes in personal relationships. Most arguments between men and women escalate because both parties are operating with zero gap. She says something out of frustration. He takes it as a direct attack on his character. He fires back with a logical counter-argument. She feels invalidated, and the situation spirals into chaos. This is the cycle of the weak. The strong man breaks this cycle by maintaining his frame. When emotional chaos is thrown his way, he uses the habit of objective distance. He does not take the words literally. He looks underneath the words. He asks himself, what is actually causing this storm? By remaining unbothered, he provides a stable anchor. He does not get pulled into the tempest. He neutralizes the chaos simply by refusing to reflect it. Many men mistake this habit for emotional suppression. They think being strong means stuffing your feelings down and pretending you do not care. That is a dangerous myth. Suppression is an act of fear. You suppress emotions because you are afraid of what will happen if you express them. Suppression builds pressure. Eventually, that pressure destroys you from the inside out. Objective distance is not suppression. It is conscious processing. You feel the emotion fully. You feel the heat in your chest. You feel the adrenaline. But you simply choose not to let that biological reaction dictate your physical actions. You allow the emotion to exist, but you strip it of its authority. You demote your emotions from the role of commander to the role of a mere advisor. Let us talk about how this habit completely transforms your relationship with failure. The reactive man views failure as an indictment of his worth. If his business venture collapses, he feels like a failure. The emotion crushes his motivation. He spirals into self-doubt and paralysis. He allows an external result to define his internal identity. The man who has cultivated the gap looks at failure as raw data. His business collapsed. He pauses. He steps back. He strips the emotion away from the event. What is left? A series of decisions that led to an undesirable outcome. That is all. It is not a reflection of his soul. It is simply a math equation that did not balance. He adjusts the variables and moves forward without the burden of shame. This habit also insulates you against the manipulative tactics of modern society. We live in an outrage economy. The media wants you perpetually angry because angry people click, share, and consume. Politicians want you fearful because fearful people are incredibly easy to govern. When you lack the gap, you are a pawn in their massive game of psychological chess. When you master the micro pause, you become invisible to their tactics. You see the sensationalized headline, you feel the intended pull of outrage, but you catch it in the gap. You analyze the intent behind the message. You realize someone is trying to pull your strings. You smile at the attempt and you simply walk away. You refuse to give them your most valuable asset, which is your mental energy. How do you actually train this habit? It begins with the smallest inconveniences in your daily life. You cannot expect to use this power during a massive life crisis if you have not practiced it during minor annoyances. Your training ground is the traffic jam. It is the slow internet connection. It is the spilled cup of coffee. These are your daily repetitions. Next time you stub your toe or drop your keys, notice your default reaction. You probably curse. You get a flash of irrational anger. From now on, when a minor inconvenience occurs, force a physical pause. Stop moving. Take one deep breath. Do not curse. Do not sigh aggressively. Just observe the reality that the keys are on the floor. Then quietly pick them up. This sounds trivial, but it is mental weightlifting. By mastering your reaction to the spilled coffee, you are rewiring the neural pathways in your brain. You are teaching your nervous system that an event does not automatically require a reaction. You are building the muscle of restraint. Over time, this muscle becomes incredibly strong. It becomes your default state of operation. As you practice this, you will notice a profound shift in how other people perceive you. People are naturally drawn to and slightly intimidated by a man who cannot be easily shaken. In a world full of frantic, anxious, reactive individuals, a truly calm man appears almost superhuman. His presence alone commands a deep, unspoken respect. Think about the concept of frame control. Your frame is your reality. It is your set of beliefs and your emotional baseline. When two people interact, the person with the stronger, more stable frame will always absorb the person with the weaker frame. If you are easily triggered, your frame is weak. You are constantly being pulled into the realities of other people. The habit of objective distance makes your frame absolutely impenetrable. Because you do not react to provocations, you force others to enter your reality. If someone comes to you with chaotic energy and you meet them with dead calm, they will eventually have to match your calmness to interact with you. You become the gravitational center of the room. This also applies to your relationship with money. Financial markets are driven entirely by fear and greed. Most men lose their wealth because they let these two emotions dictate their decisions. The market dips. They feel fear. They sell at a loss. The market surges. They feel greed. They buy at the absolute peak. They are entirely reactive. The elite investor uses the gap. He watches his portfolio drop 20%. The biological fear is there, but he applies objective distance. He analyzes the fundamentals. He ignores the panic of the herd. He makes decisions based on cold, hard logic, rather than the immediate fluctuations of his heart rate. This emotional control is the literal difference between poverty and generational wealth. You must also apply this habit to your own internal dialogue. Your brain is a thought generation machine. It constantly produces doubts, anxieties, and negative scenarios. Most men believe everything they think. If their brain tells them they are not good enough, they accept it as absolute fact. They react to their own thoughts just as blindly as they react to external events. Objective distance means treating your own thoughts as external suggestions. When a thought arises saying you are going to fail, you pause. You do not panic. You simply look at the thought and say, "That is an interesting hypothesis, but I reject it." You become the curator of your own mind. You ruthlessly delete the thoughts that do not serve your ultimate purpose. This level of control requires immense self-discipline. It requires you to be constantly awake. You can no longer drift through life on autopilot. You must be the active sentinel at the gates of your perception. Every single interaction, every piece of news, every internal urge must be filtered through the gap before you allow it to dictate your behavior. Do you understand the immense freedom this provides? True freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. That is the illusion of a child. True freedom is the absolute ability to govern yourself. It is the power to choose your response to any given situation, regardless of how intense the pressure might be. A man who cannot govern himself will always be governed by someone else. Society will happily provide you with masters if you refuse to master yourself. Your boss, your partner, the media, the government, they will all gladly take the reins of your mind if you leave them unattended. Taking back those reins is the ultimate act of masculine rebellion. Let us explore the physical manifestation of this habit. Emotional reactivity is heavily tied to your breathing. When you are triggered, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. This signals to your brain that you are in danger, which fuels the anxiety. The physical hack to create the mental gap is controlling your breath. The moment you feel the spike of a trigger, before you speak, before you move, shift your breathing to your diaphragm. Take one slow, deep breath in through the nose and exhale slowly. This physically forces your nervous system to stand down. It interrupts the biological stress loop. It buys you the 3 seconds you need to establish objective distance. Your body language must also reflect this internal stillness. Reactive men have erratic movements. They fidget. Their eyes dart around. Their posture collapses under pressure. The man who possesses the gap moves with deliberate purpose. His movements are smooth. He maintains steady eye contact. He takes up space. His physical calmness reinforces his mental sovereignty. You will face resistance when you implement this. The people around you are used to your old reactive self. They know exactly which buttons to push to get you to explode or capitulate. When those buttons suddenly stop working, they will try harder. They will escalate their behavior to try and break your new frame. This is a critical testing phase. Do not falter. When they escalate, you must become even calmer. View their attempts to trigger you as a fascinating psychological experiment. Watch them struggle against your unmovable presence. Eventually, they will realize the rules of engagement have permanently changed. They will be forced to respect your new boundaries. It is crucial to understand that this habit does not make you passive. There is a massive difference between passivity and calculated restraint. A passive man does nothing because he is weak and afraid of conflict. The man who uses the gap does nothing initially because he is gathering data to launch a precise, devastatingly effective response. Sometimes, after pausing and analysing the situation in the gap, the correct logical response is aggressive action. But because that action is chosen logically rather than driven by blind rage, it is infinitely more effective. It is the difference between a wild animal thrashing blindly and a highly trained sniper pulling the trigger. Think of the historical figures who shaped the world. The greatest generals, the most successful leaders, they all possessed this trait. Under the most extreme pressure, when the battle was turning against them, they did not panic. They stepped back. They viewed the battlefield objectively. They found the single leverage point that would turn the tide. They ruled their perceptions. This is the essence of what ancient philosophers understood, modernized for today. It is the fundamental dichotomy of control. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control the actions of other people. You cannot control the obstacles placed in your path. But you have absolute dictatorial control over how you perceive those obstacles. When you fully internalize this, life stops being something that happens to you and becomes a training ground that happens for you. Every difficult person is a sparring partner helping you build your restraint. Every stressful situation is a heavyweight designed to build your mental muscle. The world is no longer a threat. It is a gymnasium for your mind. Let us address the moments when you fail, and you will fail. There will be a day when the pressure is too high, your energy is too low, and you snap. You react blindly. You lose the gap. The mistake most men make in this moment is spiraling into self-hatred. They beat themselves up for being weak, which is just another form of reactive emotion. When you fail, apply the habit to the failure itself. Step back. Observe the failure objectively. Why did you snap? Were you exhausted? Did the person hit a deeply unhealed insecurity? Analyze the data, extract the lesson, forgive yourself instantly, and reset the system. Elite performers do not dwell on the missed shot. They adjust their aim for the next one. As you continue to build this architecture in your mind, you will begin to experience a profound sense of inner quiet. The constant noise of anxiety and frustration will begin to fade. It is replaced by a cold, clear focus. You will be able to see opportunities that other men miss, simply because their vision is clouded by emotional fog. You will also find that you require much less external validation. When your internal state is no longer dependent on the opinions of others, you stop seeking their approval. You stop performing for the crowd. You act solely in accordance with your own deeply held principles. This is the highest form of self-respect. This habit is the dividing line between the masses and the elite. The masses are swept away by the currents of circumstance. They are perpetually victimized by reality. The elite build a dam across the river. They harness the energy of the current and use it to power their own ambitions. They convert chaos into order. Imagine reaching the end of your life and looking back. What a tragedy it would be to realize that for decades, your mood, your happiness, and your peace of mind were completely dictated by random people and unpredictable events. What a waste of human potential. You have the opportunity right now to ensure that does not happen. The habit of objective distance, the micro-pause, the mastery of perception. Whatever you choose to call it, it is the one key that unlocks your true power. It is not an easy path. It requires you to fight your own biology every single day. It requires you to be hyper-aware in a world that encourages mindlessness. But the reward is absolute psychological freedom. The reward is becoming a man who remains unshaken while the world around him falls into chaos. The reward is knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you remain the undisputed master of your own mind. You must start today, not tomorrow, not next week. The very next time someone annoys you, the very next time something goes wrong, you have a choice to make. Will you surrender to your biology? Or will you assert your consciousness? Will you react like a slave? Or will you pause like a king? Remember, the event itself has no power. The power only exists in your reaction to it. Starve the event of your reaction, and you strip it of its power entirely. You take that power and you keep it for yourself. This is how you build an unbreakable character. This is how you win the only war that truly matters. The war against your own weakness, the war against the reactive mind. You are no longer permitted to use the excuse that someone made you angry. No one can make you anything without your explicit, subconscious consent. Revoke that consent today. As we move towards the conclusion of this analysis, I want you to visualize your ideal self, the man you are striving to become. He does not yell when things go wrong. He does not panic when the pressure mounts. He observes, he calculates, and he executes. He is a man of immense power, precisely because his power is completely under his own control. This version of you is not a fantasy. He is simply the current version of you, minus the emotional reactivity. You do not need to add anything to become him. You need to subtract the impulsive reactions. You need to carve away the weakness. like a sculptor chipping away stone to reveal the masterpiece underneath. The chisel you use for this work is the micro-pause. Every time you use it, you chip away a piece of weakness. Every time you observe instead of reacting, you reveal a bit more of the strong, stoic core that has always been inside of you. It is a daily, relentless process of self-refinement. Do not share this process with others. Do not announce that you are trying to be more stoic. People will only try to test you or tear you down. Move in silence. Let them be confused by your sudden unflappability. Let your results and your calm demeanour be the only evidence that a profound internal shift has occurred. You are part of a very small percentage of men who are even willing to consume content like this. Most men are distracted by cheap entertainment and instant gratification. The fact that you are still listening proves that you have the intellectual capacity for this transformation, but knowledge without application is completely useless. You must take this theory and violently forge it into practice in the crucible of your daily life. Let the chaotic world be your resistance training. Welcome the disrespect, welcome the challenges, welcome the stress. They are no longer threats. They are your tools for growth. They are the friction required to sharpen your blade. The habit is simple, but the execution is the work of a lifetime. Event, pause, observe, choose. This 4-step rhythm will change your entire thinking. It will rewire your brain. It will rewrite your destiny. It is the ultimate secret of the strong man. Step into the gap. Reclaim your sovereignty. The world is waiting to see the man you become when you finally decide to master yourself. You have just been handed the exact blueprint to absolute mental supremacy. The habit of objective distance is the only difference between the man who is crushed by the world and the man who conquers it. If you apply the micro-pause, if you separate the event from your emotion, you will become an untouchable force in your career, in your relationships, and in your own mind. This is the essence of true masculine power. Thank you for investing your time in your own evolution. If you're one of the few who are actually going to implement this today, I want you to leave a comment below saying, "I own the gap." Let that be your public declaration of psychological independence. Subscribe to the channel if you are committed to the path of the elite mind, and share this video with one man who needs to hear this truth. Until next time, maintain your frame and master your mind.